And welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Between Two Wheels podcast. This is Tyler Janke with Chris Flower. We're going to talk some old man national championships, talk about the transfer market, some horrible crashes that are happening out there, some things that make you go, Tour Utah, Colorado Classic, some winners and losers. Who's ready for this?
Not really, but we can try.
Not either. Welcome, everybody. Episode 141. We took a little break. Look, bike racing is a little tiresome. Following it can be even more tiresome.
Yes, there's a lot of races.
There's a lot of races. And almost, I saw someone post online, Killian Kelly. I think he's joining up with GCN. He's kind of a historian out there. The point is, he was like, I don't know if there's this time right now in cycling where there's just too many races going on right now, and we're trying to follow them all. And Chris is over here trying to do some magic on your stand. Okay, so first of all, let's just talk a little. We're going to talk some NCNCA stuff. Trying to get back into that. How is your cycling going? Because we have a race coming up this weekend.
Do we? Is that official? There is a race.
There's a race coming up, and that was questionable. So we'll talk about that. Winners road race.
Yes.
But how's your bike racing been going, and your riding in general? You like to do a lot of group rides.
My bike racing in general has been absent. I don't think I've raced since Nevada City in June.
Yeah.
So it's been a while since I've. Well, actually, that's not true. I did an unsanctioned race last weekend, but it was kind of a race, not really a race, but a race.
What was that? Was that another one of your triathlons?
No, that was the Boca Road race.
Oh, okay.
Up in Truckee with Curt. So did that race, but outside of that, for NCNCA USAC stuff, I haven't raced since Nevada City. I've just been doing a lot of group rides, kind of race ride type stuff, and that's really just been where I've been getting my fill of riding time.
Well, this talk and Curt, we miss you again. He's the ghost member of our team. You know, we're supposed to be like the Scooby Squad or the Mystery Machine. What's the Scooby Doo, right? And
that's the show.
And I don't know. So I don't know. Are you Fred? Maybe
I'll
see Wilma.
I think he's Scooby himself.
He is Scooby. All right.
Maybe he's Scrappy Doo. Give him that title.
Okay, that I like that. But we're missing him. But he convinced you to go up there and do Boca. Why don't you talk about that a little bit? For those that don't know, that's it's not in Boca Raton, Florida.
It's not, unfortunately.
It's in Nevada or California.
So Reno Wheelman puts on a series of races throughout the year that I think some are part of USAC, some are not part of USAC. So they've got time trials, they've got a road race, and they've got a crit. And I think they actually put on a couple of collegiate races as well, or maybe they helped put them on. So the one that Curt had tagged was part of the Twilight Fall Omnium. So they do a time trial down in Nevada. They do a road race up outside of Truckee, and then a criterium down near the Reno airport. So we jumped into the road race. So the Boca Road Race is just east of Truckee. And it's a pretty cool course. It's a short course. It's, I want to say, about 24 miles. Some really good punchy climbs, and really good pavement. It was a really fun course. I got my teeth kicked in coming up from 100 feet elevation up to about 5,000 feet elevation. It was noticeably challenging, but it was a really cool course, really good racing action. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Well, how'd you do?
So I actually looked at the results yesterday, not as well as I thought. I thought I was like 7th. I came in 9th. So.
Oh, well, sorry to hear that.
Them's the breaks.
Some of those Trade on Road guys are up there, right?
Yeah, quite a few more. I ended up working with Pete Morris. We'd both gotten dropped on the real main climb. It's called the Wall, and it's like a 2.5, 3 minute, just 10%, just torture fest. So came off on that, worked with Pete Morris and Josh Rennie, and we just got the group to within 10 seconds in the final miles, but just couldn't close that final gap, unfortunately. So do what you do.
Right, it happens. Okay, well, look, good for you. Those that are interested, check it out. Are they done with that series now?
They are done for the year. I think there's a criterium left next week, but the road races are all done. So,
okay. Well,
so long story short,
until next year then.
My racing has been at best.
Okay, well, we're going to do Winters. So Winters out there in Winters, California. It's on the way between Sacramento, Davis area to the Bay Area. It's kind of out there, a little bit of a foothill.
Yeah.
And the Tour of California came through there this year, or they almost went out to it, right? They went 2 Winters on the first stage. So, hey, we're not doing the same road. But it's a 20-some mile loop with about a 10-minute climb in the middle of it. Otherwise, it's pretty flat and rolly. Yeah. They've changed the start-finish. It used to be closer to where you stage. Now it's back a little bit, and it has just a little bit of uphill finish. Not nothing significant. It deadens the sprinters a little bit. As you know, last year you cramped up pretty heavily on it.
I did. I think I cramped up before the uphill part of it. But yeah, it's I would say it's generally flat, with the exception of Canelo.
Right. So Canelo, it starts out pretty medium, has a little bit of a steeper part, then it flattens out, kind of drifts down, and then it ends with 3 minutes or so of super steep climbing, and then you go over the top. Nice steep descent, twisty. Could be a little bit difficult into the finish. So that's what we've got going on. Good luck to everyone. It was canceled. They said due to road conditions or whatever, it was canceled.
Yeah.
Then it's back on. So that may have disturbed some people. You were telling me that you could, online reg, this is Thursday. It closed yesterday, Wednesday, but I think you're actually saving money if you do day of.
Yeah, because you're not going to pay the bike reg fee.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about a few other things with the NCNCA, which was, let's talk about Old Man National Championships out in Colorado Springs. But as always, our guys fare quite well out there.
Now, by our guys, you don't mean our guys. You mean NCNCA guys. Our guys fared well by just not racing.
I didn't get dropped.
That's true.
Let's say that. No, our NCNCA guys. Hey, we're representing you with this podcast as well.
True.
So
okay.
not just me and my teammates, but all those that we race with, we know on a daily basis. So you want to start out with, I don't know if you want to call out just the NCNCA guys, but they do the time trial. We talked about it, the race in general, and it was just an out and back.
Yeah, so it was an out and back, but there was a little bit of climbing on the way out. So I looked at a couple of the Strava posts by guys that had done it, and it wasn't totally flat. Like you could see a lot of spikes in power, a lot of spikes in speed, some guys hitting high 40s. So it was a little bit of climbing going out, and then obviously a little bit of descending to flat coming back in. So everybody said it was a tough course, true course. So it wasn't anything that favored one person over the other.
No, and you saw that with the time trial guys getting good, getting their results.
Yeah.
You want to go through some of the categories and then just highlight some people that we see and start out with that, or did you have a method in mind for this?
I did not have a method in mind. I was just going to look at, for the time trial, guys in particular within the NCNCA that fared well. So we know that there's a couple returning former national champions that were headed out there. So I know Dan Bryant has won the national TT championship a handful of times, as well as the world TT championship. Right. So he was also going into a new age bracket this year. I think when Curt was in here with us last, we kind of did a little preview of Masters Nationals, and I know Bryant was going into a category with another Daniel, I think Daniel Casper.
Yeah, Curt
and
wasn't here.
He was not here?
No, he hasn't been here in months.
I thought he was in spirit. They finished really close to each other at last year's Nationals, so Dan Bryant ended up winning this year's Nationals with I think the fastest time on the day overall. I think he won by over a minute.
Well, I'm looking at it here. So he was 49:36:51. Daniel Casper was second at 50:44. Yeah, so over a minute to him.
Yeah.
That guy rides for Donkey Label. That's okay.
I think they make race clothing.
Donkey labels.
Yeah. So Dan Bryant gets another national championship.
So you're saying he was fastest on the day of, like, if you just aggregate everybody, all the TT?
I believe so, because there was another
guy.
He's
in the 50 to 54 group.
Yeah, so if you look at 35 to 39, Jacobs, I forget his last name, he did really well.
Jaeger, 48:37. So, yeah, would we say 48? What was Dan? 48:37, and Dan Bryant was 49:36. So actually, he was not the fastest.
Well, he was fast.
He was well, yeah. I mean, come on, that's still pretty good. Well, and in the 35s, I think the best we had there, we being NCNCA, was Zach Morvant and then Ariel 7 and 8.
Well, Rob Schell, I think he got 5th, so he was on the podium.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dolce Vita. Yeah.
He's a good TTR, obviously.
So, sorry, keep going.
Also in the NCNCA that did well, it looks like we've got, I'm going to totally butcher the name, Joseph Lemire.
Okay.
He's in the 70 to 74 age group, and he won the time trial.
Okay. How many were in that group?
I do not know.
I'm looking at it right now. Actually, 18. So
okay. Good turnout.
Yeah.
Now, were they doing, if you're looking at the times, he may have done the 20K course?
I don't know. I hope so, because doing a 27, cutting that time in half off of Dan Bryant.
Right.
Smoking.
Maybe he's motor pacing.
Right.
So I think those were the 2 winners. Actually, no, that's not true. In the women's side, in the women's 45 to 49, Molly Van Houweling, she won the time trial there as well. And I believe she just set the hour record for her age group this week down in Aguascalientes, down on the track there.
Okay.
So
what track event is that?
That is the hour record.
Oh, just doing the hour record.
Yes.
And which group was she at? 45, 49?
Yes.
That right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Revolution Racing PB Jackaroo.
Yeah. So then those are the winners. We had 3 time trial winners for the NCNCA, which is pretty darn good.
Right.
And then podiums would be Rob Schell, as we mentioned. Chris Phipps in the 50 to 54. I think that might be his first 50 to 54 participation.
I think so.
Kevin Metcalf, 55 to 59. I think he's won before. He ended up 3rd place, which is darn good. In the women's 35 to 39, Shannon Gaffney. Looks like she's racing for the U.S. military team. And then in the women's 40 to 44, Katie Giles took 2nd place in the time trial. So
that name might be familiar if you know her husband, Scott.
Yes.
Who also races quite well.
I think he's a former winner himself.
National champion, yeah.
Yeah, so the time trial, not too shabby. Bring home a few wins and then a handful of podiums, so well done.
Yeah, really good.
So I think we talked a little bit about the road race course when we did a little preview on this. You kind of are familiar with the results. Right. Did it play out as you would have expected, knowing the course and seeing who did what?
Yeah, so for the most part, you saw strong guys winning, and then you saw climbers.
Okay.
Or strong climbers. As an example, my former teammate, Michael Carter, won, I'm trying to remember the category, 55 or 60 group, but he rode the 92 Tour de France, winning all these hill climbs, New Hampshire, Colorado, Mike Evans hill climb. Guy is like all of 120 pounds, super good climber, strong rider, and he wins. And Jonathan Baker, he wins. Right. Ariel Herman, good climber, can hang in there. Up to a few years ago, still doing all the P1-2 races. He wins. Well, sorry to give some spoiler alerts here. And we'll go through those, but yes, exactly. I mean, you didn't see any guys. There was one group there where Monster Media rider ended up winning. I think he has a little bit more of a kick, but he kind of super strong, former pro, and hung in with the leaders, and then was able to beat him in a sprint. Trying to remember who that was, but I think he had ridden for. Well, we'll get to that. But why don't you give a breakdown of what you saw for results wise? Yeah,
so it was. Tried to follow as best as I could when I could. I think one to go. They do kind of a live stream to the best extent they can. They just kind of give updates as the guys come around lap by lap by lap. So it's kind of cool seeing some of the breaks form and whatnot. But much like the time trial, the NCNCA riders had a few wins in there. You mentioned Ariel Herman. He won the 35 to 39 road race. He's with Thirsty Bear. I think he won from a reduced field. No, not a reduced field. He won from a break of 4, which is a pretty darn solid result. And then you had Jonathan Baker. He won I'm thinking 45 to 49 road race.
Yeah.
I think looking at the results for that, he won solo. So he had bridged up late to a group, and then I guess he just went right through them to go ahead and win solo. Pretty impressive. He's with Touchstone Racing still, I believe. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then also in the road race, Katie Giles, rock solid cycling. She won the women's 40-44 race, so pretty good.
Yeah, really good. So it was Michael Olheiser, and he had ridden for Competitive Cyclist, Lupus. So that's who I was thinking of. That was in the 40-44 with Todd Markles, a local guy, Team Mike's Bikes, getting second there as well.
Yeah, other guys that are the racers that finished on the podium in the road race. You had Molly, who won the time trial. She was second in the road race. Tanya Fredericks for Thirsty Bear. She took fourth in the women's 50-54. Joseph Lemire from Thirsty Bear, who won the time trial, took second. Metcalf for Pete's took fourth in his race. Dan Bryant took third in his. So more solid results, good podiums, so good stuff.
Yeah, really good. So I just saw one other one here. It's just an interesting story. Matthew Cook, fourth in the 40-44 from Boulder. Might not mean anything to anybody, except for back in he was a former pro, and I think he rode for Jameis team a few years ago. As they're leaving Boulder, he's in the Tour or Colorado Classic, whatever it was, USA Cycling Classic that they had at the time. They're going Boulder to, I want to say, Golden, and he has a nasty wreck and pretty much just ended his career. I mean, I think he had some head injuries and stuff. So my point is, he's back racing as an amateur, but getting fourth. So it's good to see someone from having some issues and just quit cycling like that. I think he was really super, super critical online about doping.
Oh, really?
Like, I don't want to say over the top. That seems a bit much, but he was really a troll on Twitter about that. I could be getting him mixed up with someone else. I think I'm right though. But anyway, interesting story. Any things with the road race that you heard, or wasn't it Travis Lee we heard about that had some issues? Right?
Yeah, so he was in the 35-39 race, and I heard from Curt that he had found his way into the lead group and had some, I wouldn't call it mechanical issues, I guess electrical issues with his group set, just basically stopped shifting, which it sounds like on a course like that is kind of going to end your day.
Right.
You're not going to be able to sneak through with minimal gears. You need your whole system working well. So definitely a bummer for him to travel all that way, get into that lead group, and then have something like that derail his race.
Right, which, there would have been two teammates up there, and obviously you're in that group. I don't know at what point, but probably riding well. He's a good climber guy, so
right.
Bummer to hear that. Sorry, Travis. Any other ones for?
That's
You want to do the crit?
We can do the crit. I know the crit. I heard the course is obviously difficult. I heard that there was a lot of weather changes. There was expectations for rain. Rain held off, but I guess the wind was out in full effect and changing direction every few minutes, so it made for a tough race is what I heard. But in spite of that, still had some really good results from NorCal racers. Looking at the results here, Joseph Lemire gets another win in the 70-74, so he won the road race. He won the time trial. Second in the road race, wins the crit. That's a pretty gosh
probably
darn.
Wins the Omnium at that point.
I would assume he probably won the best rider for that age group. Larry Nolan won the men's 60-64 race. There's a video.
Bagley?
Not Bagley, because he's in a different age group.
Yeah.
There's another video floating around for that age group, and it was intense. Like the last couple laps were really physical. So it's a good result in that field, and it looked like he had won by quite a bit. He and the second place rider looked like they were really close, but they had a good gap to third and behind. So
remember a race where you were in him and you guys dropped him, and then I'm just
and then
still bitter about Golden State.
Yeah.
No, look, and Larry, and what's interesting is when you see the videos. I mean, I was talking about this with Linder. I'm like, when I watch them, and even if it's a video I'm done, and like it's like more intense watching it to me than like being in the moment, because you're just there and things are happening and but when you're watching this thing, it seems more dramatic to me, like all the little actions and like the cutting in the corners and like it seems more dynamic, but Larry Nolan's no slouch when it comes to like physical and getting bumping around in there. So
no, and I think that's like his 100th national title if you account for road and track and everything. So he knows how to race.
And we interviewed him a few years ago up at Chico.
Yeah,
and I asked him if he'd ever won a national championship. Curt was embarrassed. My point was he had stripes on his neck, so I was like, hey, what'd you get? Is that just something you put on there?
And then,
we saw that in a picture.
Right.
Anyway, go ahead.
And then also in the crit, Sam Benedict won the men's 35 to 39, and he won from, I think it was a group of 4 or 5 guys off the front. So he won, and then Chris Coble got second, and I'm not sure who got the remaining places, but that's
what was interesting about that one. It
results.
looked like Ariel Herman was in the break with them because
Right.
there's a small time gap from him. And actually, I'll get the results here. It just crapped out of me.
Oh, boy.
Anyway, so there was a little gap between Ariel, looks like was in that break, but then just came off on the sprint. And then Rashan Bahati was in that group,
Right.
upgraded to nationals now, masters, and he won the field sprint, it looked like. So unless Ariel took a flyer or out sprinted Bahati to the point where he
Where he had a time gap.
took a little time gap on him. I'm making assumptions looking
Right.
at the time splits there.
Yeah, I'm guessing that he probably was in the break and then kind of came off that in the last lap or two.
Yeah, but I think didn't Ariel? Okay, so second was Coble, Giancarlo Bianchi, Florida guy, a guy from Texas in fourth, and then Owen Schott, another Florida guy for fifth, and then Ariel sixth, Rashan Bahati seventh. So good one for him. Didn't we see that Ariel had the bar or the bat? What is it? Best
So he'd be bar.
bar.
Yeah, men's
Rider,
35 to
rider,
39
yeah.
bar. Because I think he did obviously well enough in the time trial to accrue some points, and then
Right,
wins
I
the
think we
road
said it
race.
was
and-
seventh or eighth.
yeah,
and
so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Hard to be upset about that.
No.
Other good finishes in the crit would be it's like Shannon Castle from Old School Industries, 5th place, women's 40 to 44. Jennifer Hartwig from Squadra, 3rd place in the 45 to 49. Other podiums, we've got Beverly Cheney from San Jose Bike Club, 55 to 59. Michael Charlton from Red Peloton took 2nd. He's difficult to race against.
Yeah.
He's good. Chris Ott from Pete's, 4th, 50 to 54. Scott Giles, 2nd, 45 to 49. And we already mentioned Chris Coble. So a lot of guys that you expect to do well did well. A lot of really good finishes, a lot of podiums.
So Giles got in a break with David Castle.
Super Dave. Just Super Dave.
Super Dave.
It's an interesting dynamic because you've got Dave, who, if you look at his physique, the dude's a sprinter.
Yeah.
I mean, his legs are probably twice as big as Scott's. So it doesn't surprise me that he would outsprint Scott in the end, but it looks like they got a huge gap. So they had a pretty big gap over the field.
And Giles, remember when we were out at Chico and he gets in the break with that other motor that just, the guy was just a motor.
From Oregon.
Yeah, motor without much motor fun. I mean, do I say the brain's not there? No, he really with the smart, he was super new to cycling. I'll say that.
Yeah.
So he and Scott get up the road and they just motor away. And that's what Scott does. You know, when he won his national championship in the road race a few years ago, I want to say 14 or so out in Utah, he got in a break and then just stuck the climb. And yeah, dude's strong. So congrats for him.
Yeah.
Good job breaking all those down because good stuff out there. You know, we had Thirsty Bear, we had Pete's. Who else was out there from us?
Touchstone.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Yeah. Olympic Club.
Now, and everyone's getting results there. I mean,
Yeah.
Coble got it for Olympic Club. Obviously, Touchstone with Baker and Pete's got some wins, and Thirsty Bear. So
Yeah.
good for all of them. And we talked about field size, and I was a little shocked to see that you have a race out in Colorado Springs, just 2 hours south of Boulder, Denver area, and you'd think you'd just get an influx there. But I was a little shocked to see that there wasn't a lot more. Maybe their cycling is kind of like ours, where it's just not.
I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, 35s on some of those fields weren't very big as far as like the TT.
Right.
Okay. I get TTs, but even then, I don't know. What about next year? Is that your goal next year?
No.
Sweet. I know
But
John Novikov said it is. So.
I don't know where it's the challenge with that is how far out do you plan? Because at this point, it's not on the calendar. We don't know where it is. Is it going to be in Florida? Is it going to be in Utah? I don't know.
Well, I think it's going to be there again, and they usually do like a 2 times.
Oh, do they?
And then they've been moving it on.
I'd have to move there for a year to acclimate to the elevation.
Right. No, we had talked. I'd like to actually chat with Zach Morvant. Maybe we'll see him this weekend. About how it went because it looked like to us this dude was bearing down. Not hyperbaric chamber, but I mean, kind of the equivalent. He was training at altitude, going and super strong.
Right.
Didn't quite have the results, so I'd be curious to see what happened. And Jonathan Baker, it looks like he just ensconced himself out in Colorado and said, "This is do it." So All right. So good luck to all those guys, and we'll see what happens coming up. So let's finish off some NCNCA. We had Dunningan. So Dunningan happened while the Nationals was taking place. And looked like to me it was kind of a full of crashes and life flights and some other results. Anything you heard from there? We'll go through some things that I could just remember off the top of my head.
Please do.
Jeremy Barnes, Sierra Nevada. Yes. He won. And I was talking to him last night, and he said that the last lap, it's on the feed zone. He's like, I wasn't even trying to attack. I just took a drink, looked around, and I kind of have a gap, and I just keep pedaling, and all of a sudden I'm like, might as well stick it. And so that's, the feed zone is on that back section, just kind of twisty, and then he has the whole, so he's like 20 mile, and he's like, then I just stuck it. I went really hard on the windy section, kind of got out of sight, and then just held it. And real impressive. I mean, that's a flat race. That's not a bet. He said, I'm not going to win a sprint. And
right.
Yeah. So, but man, you can probably see him, even if he's got like a 20-minute lead on you on that dead straightaway.
Yeah. The frontage road that goes along. What is that? 5?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a tough place to be alone and just
totally
put in work.
Yeah. So Jeff Dale got broken collarbone or something like that. He talked to me about it. I don't know if you heard anybody else. Someone else got life flighted out, broke the lungs and stuff, other things happening.
I know a local rider, also Sierra Nevada, Ken Todd. You talked with him a couple of years ago. He, I think, broke a couple ribs.
Oh, geez.
So, yeah, a lot of guys went down. It sounds like there was an issue with fields kind of overtaking each other, but not doing it cleanly, and that kind of leading to changes in speed and bad things. So,
do you have any results from there?
I do. What do you want to know?
Just name off some winners from different categories.
Pro 1-2 men's, Mike's Bikes, Cooper Shanks with the win.
Oh, okay.
Also rounding out the podium, Chaz Thurman from SP2 and Roman Kaloon from Mike's Bikes. So I think they were in a break like 5 or 6 guys. So good results there.
Yeah.
Let's see, who else do we got here? You'd mentioned Jeremy Barnes taking the win in the 35s. Andrew Conley, 2nd place. Alexander Yermolevich, 3rd place. Trainer Rhodes, Nate Pearson, 4th place. What else we got? Men's 45. Craig Upton racing for Team Me, winning.
Team Me.
Phil Malaspina from Cortex, 2nd. Sean Smith for R4R. So they seem to have some good results there sneaking in. The Race for Research guys. Well done. What else you got on there in results?
I was going to go to the Suisan Crit. That was the next day, unless you had some more that needed to be.
Women's P1-2 battle the Eleanors. Eleanor Wiseman taking the win over Eleanor Velez.
Oh, Ellie, come on.
Which one?
Velez. We're friends with her, so I don't know. Good job to the other one, Ellie.
Yeah.
If you're an Ellie, you had it in the bag.
How'd Suisun look?
So Suisun, have you done that crit?
I have.
Okay.
Yeah. Short crit.
Right, and fast. To me, there wasn't a lot of entries going out here, but you had some, like just the P1-2s. Chat Leong wins that over Josh Carling, so Teams Mike's Bikes over SP2 Life.
Again.
And then Tarun gets 3rd and 4th with Linder and Gottsman. Andrew Gosling, Gavin Murray. I mean, so you're Roman Kaloon out there. I mean, so you're stacked for what you do have. So, for me, it's not a big field. 20 people finish. Maybe 25, 30 started. But the top, if you win, I mean, those boxes look impressive when you get those people on them. So.
Yeah, small field but strong field. And I think Jeff Linder did a video with Roman for this race.
Right. Cat 3s, Andrew Mathiasen, Garrett Smith. That's the guy we've been riding with. He got 2nd out there, and then Zach Ross and Andy Garzoli, 2, 3, and 4. So Garrett Smith, I'll just throw a little bit. I mean, the guy's pretty strong. He does some rides out with us and adds on, 20, 30 miles extra. So
that's
maybe
we'll
see some more things from him. I don't even know how old he is. The Masters 35, Josh Wood, David Allen, Nate Pearson, Greg White, Nabil Saman, top 5 there.
Nice.
45s. Yutch Cowhey, I saw he won. David Allen, Cognition in 2nd. Sean Smith, R4R. And Andre Tinthero for Sack Golden Wheelman. And Robert Sperling with Nabil.
So David Allen got 2nd place in the 35s and the 45s.
Right.
Well done.
Right. And then the women's P1, 2, 3. Juliet Hyde, Marissa Axel, and Medine Freschetti. I don't see any Ellies in that race.
They were celebrating their Dunningan results.
Right. And then these Masters 55 to 99. I don't know. They're just making. What if you're 100? You just don't get a race? Only 4 entries. So those guys all got to stand on the box, I presume. Or maybe just the one didn't.
If they finished.
Andre Tinthero, Robert Pascoe, Andrew Nevitt. I don't know if they placed them with another field, but Robert Pascoe's he's strong. So
yeah, I think it was a race together, pick separate thing.
Okay, that might have been.
Assume.
Yeah. That I would hope so. Did you hear anything about that one?
Not really. No, it was like I said, small fields. I think going up against Masters Nationals obviously hurt the 35s, 45s, 55s fields.
99.
Everybody up to 99. It's a fun course. It's a short course. I want to say it's like maybe a kilometer in length.
It's got a kind of little squeeze in on the end, right, or on the backside.
After like turn 2, yeah. But it gets a lot of wind, but it's just a fun, fast course. Hopefully it gets some more folks out there next year because it's a good race.
Yeah, maybe we'll start showing up to races.
So Winters on Saturday.
Winters on Saturday.
That's the plan.
Any predictions there besides you winning? They cut one category out, which was like a catch-all. They added it a few years ago because there were so many racers.
Right.
So they threw in this 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right.
I think like the first year Grunman won it.
I think the second year as well.
Yeah, and then we did it last year with our team, so we can throw. It was a 30, not 35.
Correct.
So we threw in Stefan, and it had a real good race.
Yeah.
And we got second, third,
fourth.
Second, third, fourth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's obviously they don't need that field anymore because I think combined the 45 and 35 fields are maybe 30 people at this point.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's a big deal. And that's a good race. So I'm doing it. I'm like 10 pounds overweight, maybe a little more. But my fitness feels okay. So
the P12 field is stacked.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, you got. I think Jonathan Baker's doing it, even though he's 45 plus.
I almost wanted to just watch it.
You could probably still do that if we get dropped.
I think I might just watch it. You're right.
Right.
I was from the top of the class.
So you got a lot of guys who just won nationals in their masters groups that are doing the P12 race because Ariel's doing it as well. So they can't wear their stars and stripes.
They probably don't have it designed.
I'm sure they do. Those two teams, I'm sure they do. They probably have them from previous years.
Well, remember what Zimney did last year? He just borrowed one from another teammate. He's like, hey, let me wear it. And they're like, sure. How many do you want?
Yeah. Well, I think Baker's the reigning hill climb national champion, so he's got one somewhere.
He's already just tuck that in there. So that will be pretty good. So the 45s looks like a stacked race as well. People that don't know that race, I mean, I think it combines, if you're a sprinter who can get up a hill, it'll work for you. If you're like a roller climber guy, you can. I mean, it's just interesting because the climb is climby, but yet it's punchy. So I've got over it fairly well. You've got over it fairly well the last few years. And then being able to sprint well, but brakes go away there too, and you got to be worried about that. So
yeah, you got over it with one gear in the back.
In the front.
In the front, okay.
No, you're right. In the back.
Yeah,
that's right. So a few years ago, we came around 3 laps, and on the bell lap, I think Jeremy Cuddell or someone hit me in the back. It was a crash type of thing. I didn't go down, and it ripped my Di2 wire out of my rear, and I was just stuck in my 14, I think. Okay. I made it over the climb, got third. I'd say it to Curt. I'm more proud of that than Boise, and I didn't do it. Wow. I got a good result at Boise. Always got to bring Boise into it.
So at the Boca Road race, we're talking to Mike's Bikes racer Rob Emitelli.
Yeah,
and he mentioned that Winters is for sprinters.
Well, sprinters do well there. Yeah. I mean, Willie and some of these other guys, but they've got to be in good position to get over it. So
right. So if it's a course where you're like, I can't race it, it's got a hill. It's like, you can probably get over it.
You got those guys that will that definitely can't climb. It's gonna weed them out.
Right.
So I think it's what's good for a sprinter, Willie as an example, who can get up and over a climb like that. All you're doing is you're weeding out those other sprinters that you'd have to contend with that are just pure power sprinters.
Right.
And a little bulkier maybe. So it gives you a better chance. How else are you gonna? Well, I think you can have breakaway guys there too. So
yeah.
All right.
And then on Sunday is the Coppertown Circuit Race.
Really? That's back?
So it's back this year. It's slightly different. So it's the same kind of hot doggy shaped course. but it doesn't go through the little town square.
Okay.
So I'm guessing it's probably a pain in the butt to close off that town square. So that's back this year, and they're putting it on in place of the Vacaville Crit.
Oh, wow.
So get on that.
I wish I knew that. I might have done that. I mean, I can still do that instead of winners, but
There you go.
I like that race. It was pretty decent.
It's not bad.
I like going through the little town though, because it was just enough of a change in pace that moving up, or it just caused enough chaos right there to
Right. So, but that's on. So that's an option.
Good to know. Transfer market. Let's go to the World Tour.
Ooh.
We went over last week. We had some of these rumors, and I think they're all confirmed. Roman Dennis, we still know what's happening with him, right?
Is he kicked off his team yet or no?
I heard something where someone was reaching out to the team, or he had passed on some emails, and he's like, oh, hey, Ron, can you do this race? And they're like real tentative, like don't want to, what does this guy got? What kind of Epstein photos does this guy have of his team managers? I don't know. Any other updates you want to do that you've heard in the last few weeks?
So this morning, Degenkolb indicated he's going to Lotto Soudal from Trek Segafredo. Earlier in the week, Philippe Gilbert indicated he's going to Lotto Soudal from DeQuinnick Quick Step. So they're building up quite a hefty classics team there, because I think they lost T. Spinute to somewhere.
Right.
Also of note, Tom Dumoulin officially told Sunweb to kick rocks and is signed with whatever they are, Jumbo Visma now.
Yeah.
So they're going to be a powerhouse team. So that's looking good for stage races for them. And then I guess not a transfer, but I guess it's kind of an update. Huffman has retired officially after Utah, so he will be leaving Rally. And I think, as we noted last week, Brandon McNulty is leaving Rally to go to UAE, so there's a couple open spots on that team for up-and-coming riders, I think.
Right, and with that in mind, Action Hagens Berman is moving back down to just Conti level.
Right.
So which is probably a good thing for them. I think they really wanted to get into Tour California this year, so they did that. Maybe it's just the money, or for whatever reason, it's a difficulty. So they're moving back down. It's probably not a bad thing for them. But
I think that I read a brief article about it, and I think they'd said that one of the challenges that to be a pro Conti level team, you also have to expand your roster size now, which becomes a financial constraint for them.
Right. Well, there's higher minimums. There's bank guarantees.
Right.
I think it's 50,000 minimum or something, and then not bank guarantee, but rider salary.
Yeah.
Then you've got you got to expand your team. So many. Anyway, there's just a lot more problems.
It looks like you noted on here Zacharine going to CCC from Katusha.
Right, and evidently he was taking some sponsors with him.
Okay.
Adding them to it. And then we'd talked about that one, kind of expected that one to happen.
Yeah.
Little tragedy in the world. Bjorg Lembrecht, 22-year-old Belgian rider, crashed into a concrete culvert of Stage 3 of the Tour of Poland. Horrible to hear. I think tweeting about or texting about that he's in serious condition, and then you heard he went to the hospital and passed away. Pretty horrific. And then then the idea is, what do you do with the rest of the stage race?
Right.
I mean, only this sport, right? You continue on after. I know there's more stages, but you can't stop that stage when that happens, because it's probably you don't really know what's going on, and the riders go on But it is interesting that you continue the race. I don't know how I feel about it either way, but if other sports, I don't know that you'd necessarily have some. I don't know. Would you? I guess I don't know how to really even compare it to other sports.
Right. I don't think you can. I think Curt brought up a good point. It'd be like somebody dying on the basketball court, and do you keep playing, or is it just? I mean, it would be such a shocking thing in another sport that you would just probably stop it. But I think like you said, they've got to keep doing the current stage because they don't know what's going on. The next day, they just let his team, he was Lotto Soudal, so they let Lotto Soudal kind of determine whether or not the race would go on and whether they would even race. And they just kind of neutralized everything and then let Lotto Soudal go through, I think, the finish line together. And then I think everybody collectively decided to kind of like, well, let's race on in his honor. So
right. And, we've seen that with Castrotelli in the Tour de France when he hit that thing, and then the team the next day it just kind of do a processional.
Right.
Yeah, that's tough. Well, the rider last year a year ago, so it's been over a year, the 2018 Paris-Roubaix, right? Died of the heart issue.
Right.
Wout, it's a different Wout. Several years ago, died in the Giro, I think. Hit a wall.
Right.
Belgian that was a friend of Tyler Farrar.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
It's a dangerous
These are
sport.
the kind of things. Yeah, they are. These are the kind of things when these stories come up. I usually don't tell my wife. Not that we're doing the same thing. Although she just sent me a text, and it's this picture of this guy at a security camera, and he's riding in the bike lane, head down, and there's a bus, and he ran into the back of it. But she'll send me those kind of things.
Right.
But hey,
I've done that before.
Oh,
much slower speed on a really hot day, going up a hill, just in misery, and went into the back of a car at like 5 miles an hour.
I've done those kind
Crumpled.
of things. I think it was at the Cascades Classic a few years ago, Cycling Classic. We're in the feed zone, and I'm trying to get bottles, and guys are in there, and I smashed into someone handing out bottles. Then what I did was I just got off my bike and I took bottles out of their thing and just filled up my bags. And okay.
It works.
Yes, it does. How about some things that make you go,
Yeah, so Wout van Aert is having a tough go. Back in the... What race did he have? Was it Tour de France? He had a oopsie on the TT?
Yeah, oopsie. What are you, like 80?
Thereabouts. He's still down and out. I guess he had surgery done while he was in France, and it was really poorly done. Went back to his home hospital, and they kind of repaired it as best they could, but it looks like he's still on crutches today.
Did he use a medical doctor?
I don't know. I think maybe roadside doctor.
He didn't use Chris Froome's doctor.
Clearly not. So it looks like he's probably not even going to be able to race cross this year, which is kind of devastating, I'm sure, for him, because he's obviously a multi-time world champion on the cross bike. So,
right.
And hopeful that he has a full recovery, because he had a stellar road year this past year. So,
well, and then what's so interesting is, remember earlier in the season, you had, he and Matthew Van Der Poel, obviously, they do cyclocross. They come out, and Wout van Aert's kind of the guy, and all of a sudden he goes and do some races, and Matthew Van Der Poel comes flying through for Amstel Gold. Was it Amstel? It was one of those, right? And he's like the big thing, and then all of a sudden Wout does the Dauphiné. He's like the thing, and then the Tour, he's like this amazing thing. Gets knocked out, and what happens? Van Der Poel comes through and wins some sprints out there, and was it Arctic or Brinkbank or Arctic, yeah.
Norway, yeah.
Yeah, and then was it Cockhold?
Curt
beats him in a sprint. I saw a good tweet. Someone's like, he'll be using this result for like the rest of his life. Like, hey, look, I beat Van Der Poel in a sprint. So,
but yeah, hopefully he can get his injury cleared up to the point where he can return to racing well.
He's so young, isn't he? I want to say that
24.
Okay, yeah. I mean, he just needs to like mellow out and like not try to push it, and just come back and take your time so that you don't just screw your whole career up forever. Speaking of which, I saw a tweet by someone asked, it was on Instagram, or I think, and it was to Taylor Finney. Hey, before your injury, you were gung ho, you're gonna take down the world, and now you kind of,
right?
What's up with that? And he's like, hey, before I was real focused on this, but now life's just about other things. And I was like, okay, that's nice. But what about a rider that maybe can do just as good as you, but you're Taylor Finney, so you could keep getting a contract, and he would like to have a chance to race, and you just keep painting and smoking blunts and enjoying life. I mean, I guess that's what it is. But does he do much? Does he add any value to that team?
He's a recognizable face, and maybe the sponsors like that. I mean, I haven't seen him race much this year. He was supposed to do Leadville, and he didn't do that because Education First is doing kind of the alternative racing schedules. He was supposed to have done Leadville. He didn't. So I don't know.
We don't know. So my thing that makes you go is Remco Evenepoel, with just a young theme here, wins Classica San Sebastian, wins a European Championship individual time trial. He's like 19 years old. This is
solid.
Yeah, and last year's world champion, U20. Was it U23 or was it 18-19 junior?
Must have been 18-19.
Yeah,
right?
dude, he's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. If he did ride for DeQuanta Quick Step, I'd be real excited about it.
You can still be excited about it.
I don't think so.
Okay.
How about Tour of Utah and some of these other races, and then we'll get out of here. Did you watch any of the Tour of Utah and any revelations coming from there?
Bits and pieces. Tough race. A lot of elevation, a lot of climbing. I think the rider that was kind of an unknown but should have been known and was known was James Piccoli for KHS. Spicoli, yeah. He did really well. I think he finished second overall, and I think he had some weird issues early on. I think it was stage 2. He was in the leader's jersey, got a flat with like 5 or 7K to go, was getting paced back to the group by his team. His team's not the strongest. I mean, I don't even think they're Conti level, are they?
Yeah, I don't think so.
So they burned up the team, and I guess he was in the caravan through the start finish. And the judges decided he was following the cars too closely or on the car's wheels for too long. Hit him with a 20-second penalty. And, I mean, that's a big blow for a guy like that to have to deal with. So kind of a bummer there. He ended up, I think, losing to the eventual winner, Ben Hermans, by 40 seconds. So in the end, it didn't matter. But
right. And watching that, was Ben Hermans, Israel Cycling Academy, ends up winning. And Ben took time out of him every chance he could.
Right.
And bits and pieces to the point where you're like, if this was all said and done equal, it would have come out similar. But I'll tell you what, Piccoli reminded me, and I mentioned this to you and Curt a few years ago when Mike Woods kind of emerged with Rowley at Tour of Utah. And you're like, hey, this guy is climbing with, and I think then it was an even more studded field. But Piccoli was impressive. I didn't know he was this kind of climber.
Yeah.
And he rode, I don't know that he rode super smart, though, because there were times where he was trying to get rid of Hermans and he was just sitting on the front, just grinding away, kind of doing a lot of work. And it makes you wonder if you add all those up and you just wait till the last day, if you can, unload it then when it's more significant, maybe that makes a bigger deal. But and then Joe Dombrowski, so EF Education first, they're coming to this thing and I'm like, if you don't get a stage win, that's kind of, exactly.
Especially that team. Yeah.
Right.
There was 2 World Tour teams there.
Right. It's Trek Sigurfredo and them, and then, Israel and who knows what. Oh, Dan Martin, did we mention he's going to Israel Cycling Academy?
We did not.
So Israel Cycling Academy, I don't know what their plans are, but, it looks like they're trying to maybe make a World Tour leap. So they're a solid team, and Ben Hermans is ridden for BMC, I think, a few years ago, and, is no slouch. But EF Education first finds he gets a win with Alex Howes.
No.
Lachlan Morton.
Yes.
Sorry, my bad. Howes was in the climber jersey for a while.
Right.
And then they get the last day. Joe Dombrowski looked really good with that win. Yeah. And just to mention a few other little nuggets from there. Sam Boardman, who used to ride with Mark Pro, and we've talked to him out of Chico. Mm-hmm. A lot of hair he used to have. I don't think he's got quite that. But he was out there and in the break and had the climber's jersey for a day or so too.
Right.
As well.
Yeah. Other less exciting things to note on stage. Must have been stage 4 when they were doing the circuits in Salt Lake City. Hayden McCormick from whatever team he's on. He's from New Zealand. I forget which team he's actually racing for. I'm not sure. He posted it up with a lap to go, unfortunately.
That's right.
Needed a lot of convincing from the officials on the side of the road that, hey, man, you got to keep going because...
Well, and then the next day, he's up there with Lachlan.
Right.
And driving it, and they got rid of his teammate, and it comes down to a sprint, and he let Lachlan lead him in, and it was a bike throw. Almost got that back.
Yeah.
So
Team Bridge Lane is who he's racing for. So bummer to A, do the early post-up, and B, just miss out on the win by, a bike tire width.
And C, in a fight with the officials about, no, I really did get it.
I did win. So bummer. I feel like that happens in these races when it comes to the circuits. Like I've seen it at Tour of California. Seen it, I think, before at Tour of Utah where guys...
They had that Canadian race a few years ago that was
was it Alberta? Or was it?
Tour of Alberta. That I've seen guys do that there as well.
Yeah, I guess you're so just tunnel vision focused and you're not watching the lap counter, right. And the fans are probably incredibly loud with ringing bells and everything, so you lose track. Bummer, but got his name out there.
Right. So Tour of Utah, I mean, this it looks like to me, you see that, we've had this Rob Britton won it a few years ago. It's Sepp Kuss won it last year, and he destroyed Ben Hermans by 2 minutes. I say destroyed.
Right.
And the announcers kept talking this year like, oh, is Ben riding better? And I'm like, I think Sepp was just a better. There was more, I think, sustained climbing last year too. They talked about shorter stages, and I think Sepp was just a different level
last year.
Yeah, but I just also feel that this race is just, it was expanding and it was really taking off, and it's become a big race, and it's kind of the big climbing race in the U.S. more than any of the others, but it's kind of waning on its World Tour status, I think so.
Yeah, I think the timing is difficult too, because it's kind of right in transition between the Grand Tours, and it's a haul for other Euro-based World Tour teams to get out here. So I could see it not being one where they're super excited to head out there.
Right. So there's some people heading out to the Vuelta now from this race. Lawson Craddock, Americans-wise. Kiel Reinen, Peter Stetina. TJ Van Garden wasn't at Utah, but I've heard him going.
Right.
You got Sepp Kuss and Nilsson Pallas. As far as Americans going, I don't know of any others. Spicoli,
did he get is going?
Who?
I think House is going.
Oh, okay.
I think. I could be wrong on that. But
I didn't see him on that, but it could very well be.
It'd be good for him to be out there in the national championship jersey. So.
It would be, and I do like that. So all of you know, Vuelta is coming up, starting this weekend. That's another World Tour, Grand Tour, 3-week race. Vuelta España, Tour Spain. Exciting.
I think you got to build into it a little bit. Right now, I'm kind of at saturation. So
I am too. So any of these other ones you want to talk about? Women's Colorado Classic was today. Did you see that?
I did not.
So
I know
Chloe Dygert, Owen won. Logan Owen's the other one going out there.
Okay.
But Chloe Dygert won it today. Took off with like 10K to go, and then held on. So good for her.
I think we talked a little bit about the Arctic Race of Norway. We said Van der Poel won the first stage in a sprint. It was a dominant sprint too. He opened it up from way out.
I heard him make some comment about these sprinters wait too long.
Right.
So he's.
I think it's just he needs to understand.
Is he thinking back to when he won the classic this year, where he started sprinting from like a K to go?
Maybe. Yeah. It's like, well, there's different body types, and some guys can't sprint for a kilometer, so they need to wait.
Right.
Then he ends up losing to Kikard in stage 2. Stage 3 was interesting because Warren Barguil didn't win the stage, but he got in the leader's jersey. I'm not sure what color they call it in that race, and he was super excited. Went to the media, said, I've turned the corner. My career's back. I'm feeling great, ready to go.
But he got beat by odd Christian Eiking, right?
Yes. He ended up losing the stage, but he's in the yellow jersey. Lutsenko is 3 seconds behind him, and stage 4, it's a 4-stage race, is important because there's various time bonuses throughout the stage, and he ends up getting into kind of a final group with Lutsenko and Gasparotto, I want to say. And Barguil lets Gasparotto in between him and Lutsenko, and Gasparotto is just on his end. He's dying. And in the finishing sprint, Lutsenko wins the finish, and it is significant enough of a gap that there's a time gap between him, Gasparotto, and Barguil. Barguil loses the jersey and the overall by a second. And his response is to just go ape and start yelling to the media about Gasparotto, how he's an idiot, how he shouldn't have been there, how he was flicking him through, and he should have been sticking to Lutsenko's wheel. And it's like, it's kind of on you. If this is the guy who can beat you, you should be on his wheel. You shouldn't be letting Gasparotto in between the two of you. And it just seems like that's been his approach to defeat, is to just
whine.
Yeah, just lash out. And it's a bummer.
And I know it's not quite the same because he didn't lose this, but Geraint Thomas during the Tour de France this year, there was a stage where there's a short pitch to the finish, and he came over and there was a gap. And it was a significant gap because there was just, even though there was only 1 second that created between he and the rider in front of him, the lead of that group ended up being like 5 or 6 seconds, so they actually gave it, significant amount of time.
Right.
And he said at the time, he's like, look, I was just trying to drift back, and then I thought people would fill in and behind me, and it didn't happen, and totally on me.
Yeah.
Warren Barguil can take some of that. And
You would
say,
think,
and say,
yeah.
oh, I'll come around this guy because I don't want to make sure. I want to make sure I don't lose this jersey.
Right. He's since kind of like
I know
taken a week.
You're in the moment, but
Yeah.
even in the moment, I think you bring out the true character of some of these people.
Absolutely, yeah. So he's got probably heard from his team like, hey, you probably shouldn't be doing this, and he's come out and said, oh, I reached out to Gasparotto personally and apologized for me blaming him for me sucking at bike racing.
So there's two things. One, Gasparotto maybe was just gassed.
Right.
And two, maybe he's doing that for his teammate.
Are they teammates? They're not teammates.
Well, then maybe he was doing it for his teammate, but his teammate
was further back.
Lutsenko and Gasparotto, they're not both on Astana?
Gasparotto's on Dimension Data.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, he used to be. Someone else just signed for Dimension Data.
Campanarts.
Yeah. And people are like, but I
Better
think that's a bad idea. Yeah.
So
Right. Any other tour racing things that you had before we winners and losers?
Tour of Denmark is underway. T-Spinut won
Of course it
yesterday. Today was a time trial, and Martin Toft Madsen won. So he is Danish, and he just set the Danish hour record. I want to say last week. So he's obviously in good form because he's always going up against Mikhail Berg, who just left action for UAE. Those two are Danish world hour record, Danish hour record setters. So very cool.
Yeah, good. Winners and losers. Got any for us?
Winners, can I do a bulk winner and just say the NCNCA's performance at the Masters National Championship?
Of course you can.
Beautiful. I'm going with that. I mean, it was a lot of wins, a lot of podiums. Very well done for most guys coming from effectively sea level, going up and racing at 6 to however many thousand feet.
Right.
That's solid stuff.
Yeah, no, it's very impressive, and it's cool to see. You know, we know those guys, and it's awesome and well deserving. I mean, you could have predicted some of these. I mean, Ariel Herman as an example. I don't know if I would have predicted him, but I'm not surprised.
Right.
Baker, I think we said Baker.
Yeah.
You know, and Dan Martin. Yeah. Larry Nolan. I mean, you could pretty much almost every year throw a ball. So good pick. Good pick. You have a loser?
Just ranted on Barguil, but I'll stick on him. It's like, come on, man. You left your prior World Tour team to go to this team that's being built around you, and you just kind of, come on.
What are they going to do with Nairo Quintana now this year?
Didn't he bring somebody else with him too?
Well, his brother, I think.
His brother?
Dyer.
Is he pretty good? Oh, they went Winter Anaconda?
Winter Anaconda, and then they haven't any more sprint. It seemed like someone else was going there too. Winter Anaconda, I think it's who's solid.
Yeah. No, he went somewhere else. I was going to say, didn't Elia Viviani go there, but he went to Cofidis, whatever.
Same name.
So they're going to do maybe the three racers approach again. That seems to work for everybody. Oh, speaking of three racers approach, totally sidetracking this here. Movistar for the Vuelta was going to do Carapaz, Valverde, and who was their third piece of the trident?
What was it? Quintana? Is he going there? Is it?
Maybe it's Quintana. Either way, they lost Carapaz. He got injured in a training crash on Sunday, messed up his shoulder, so he's out of the race. So bummer for him because he obviously can do well in Grand Tours.
Right.
So he won't be there.
Yeah, that's too bad because they were going to be my loser for their 3-prong attack.
Yeah,
But my winner though is some of the U.S. cyclists. I know Chloe Dygert, actually a bunch of them, Pan American Games on the track. I don't know how great that competition is, but Daniel Holloway, Northern California guy, right? Isn't he?
Yeah.
Or California at least.
He bounces around.
Right. He won. I don't remember which event, but he won a gold medal. Chloe Dygert won a gold medal. I think her team also won one for something, but I think they were the most decorated team at the Pan American Games. So solid work for them.
And I think that's important because you've got to accrue points to get certain number of team members into the Olympics.
Right. I think you're right. Losers, I don't really have much for right now. Oh, some of the announcers on the Tour of Utah.
That's tough. That is tough.
Frankie, damn. That was
he's got a sheet of racers in front of him when he's doing this, right? Like he can look at the number and the name.
Racers that are in that race though.
Okay.
Because
it was just constantly, this guy in blue. Oh, here comes this other guy. A racer's bridging across. Come on.
It was it was maybe worse though. You can hear in the background Dave Toll screaming as because he's doing like live announcing at the race. Although I must say, I saw the the Colorado Classic today, and the girl that was interviewing cyclists at the finish, she was more interested in talking to them. It'd be like me doing it. She's more interested in talking to them than getting their input. She talked for about 2-3 minutes, asked them a question, kind of interrupted to talk some more, asked them another question. She was really into it. We'll see how that proceeds. But all right, well, that's all I have. Oh, please, yes, give us some more.
Who's your pick for the Vuelta?
Oh, well, we'll have to do some Vuelta, but
we will. But
I want to say Roglic.
Okay,
because I think there's been enough time. It's kind of lapsed there. Or TJ. This is
come on.
No, I'm kidding. It's not his chance. But maybe this year it is.
Maybe. Is his hand? Didn't he break his hand or something? I don't know.
Who cares?
I'm rooting for Chavez. I like to see him have a good return to racing.
Who?
Oh, Esteban Chavez.
I would also be interested in seeing, I don't know if Sosa, is that one of the guys that's for Ineos?
Sure.
He had done really well. Maybe even that Martinez that for EF. I need to look at an actual roster. I feel like I'm Frankie here. I'm just going to pull a name out. You know that Froome guy? He races well.
Is Pogacar racing?
Well, I don't know. See, there's the things that would be
we got some things to look at.
Right. So maybe we can talk about that. It starts this weekend.
We'll talk about it tomorrow.
What's tomorrow? Oh, Friday?
Friday.
No, we're not going to do that. All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us.
Yep.
Another episode of the Between Two Wheels podcast. Share the show. Find it. Download it. Give us some help. Check us out on our YouTube channel, Between Two Wheels podcast, and our Facebook page. And as always, thank you for listening. And for Chris Flower, Curt Mills, I'm Tyler Janke. Thanks again.
See you.